to go to Sattva, you have to go through Rajas. What is the reason? Because
so
otherwise,
said that,
another combination.
Oh, why you can't go from tamas and jump to sattva? That's what you say. Yeah. So that's not difficult to follow. Tamas is lethargy. A lethargic person, a lazy person, has to start doing things, has to get up and do stuff. Okay. What does the mother? What do the parents say? Come on, you've been watching TV all along. Get up, go do the dishes. Okay. If you can't study, at least do the dishes. Help me with my help me clean the table, clean the room. Come on, get up. So that is easier to do than to sit and study and things like that. Think through certain things, debate. All this is not possible. So therefore, from tamas, one has to. Rajas is the natural progression. You can see the children are tamasic to begin with. Sleeping 12 hours a day, 16 hours a day. 16 hours a day the child sleeps, tamas. Then slowly child becomes active. Sleep hours reduces. And then walking around, jumping around, running around. Activity, rajas picks up. Terrible too. Too much rajas. Parents cannot handle that. Too much rajas. And thinking, not much. The child is learning fast, of course, but thinking comes later. And slowly we expect the child to become more sattvic, correct? More thinking, more value-driven, dharma-driven. So that is how it works, Maheshji. Does that help?
I was thinking like, we mentioned this tamas, no leadership, no drive, a follower and all that. But say, considering like you said skilled or unskilled laborers, workers. But I've also seen with them with a very uttama guna, a number of instances while I was in India. People had probably much more noble qualities compared to people who are predominantly tamas or predominantly sattva. Even though they were penniless, they are living for their paycheck, so to speak. So I was thinking there is a possibility of a tamas followed, tamas followed by sattva predominant before tamas comes.
So therefore the way to ask the question is this. A person doing Shudra karma, but the person can have Uttama guna based on the language we are using. Uttama guna plus Shudra, correct? That's what you're talking about.
Correct.
Very much possible. So there is a maid. A maid is typically doing a Shudra karma because he or she has to do whatever is told to her. She has to follow a recipe. He has to follow a recipe, correct? When somebody follows a recipe, it means generally skilled labor, unskilled labor. That person has certain skills. You hire the person specifically for that. But this lady, she had so much value for education. We see this very often. And she sells all her whatever possessions and all this jewelry, this, that, whatever she had little. She sold everything and educated her son, one son. She decided I'm going to have only one child. And she had one son, educated him. The person has a college degree and also has an MBA. And this lady is uneducated. She can't read a single word. She knows a little of the Tamil, but English she doesn't know, nothing. And so that kind of thinking. And the lady doesn't cut corners at all. She's very, very, very truthful. And she will apologize if she makes a mistake. The tendency can be to justify. No, I saw you doing this, I did this, I didn't find this. Some justification they will give. The ladies will be truthful. She will say, oh, I see, I didn't realize that, I apologize. So the very different. So there you've got a Shudra karma combined with Uttama guna. Correct? Very common. I'm not saying it's not common, but we have to be aware of this. So very common. Therefore, what we say is the superiority, if any, is not in the karma, is not in the profession. Correct? A teacher is not any superior to the doctor. A doctor is not any superior to an architect. An architect is not superior. to a plumber. Okay, no chance. And neither the plumbing is superior to maid work. Correct? No superiority. Then where does superiority come? Only guna. Dharma, dharma. That is where you can talk about superiority, if at all. Even there, that word we can't use because we don't make a judgment. Superiority in the sense, hey, I want to grow in this ladder. I want to grow up. Karma ladder, you can do whatever you want. What you love to do. But in this dharma, adharma ladder, you better go to dharma. No choice. You have to. One has to. Otherwise, the law also will catch up with you. That also they say. So there's more to discuss in the next class. Let's do that. Let's do that. There's one more. We talked two verticals, karma vertical and guna vertical. There's one more vertical we have to talk about. And that's called jati vertical. And we'll do that in the next class. And then give some examples and so forth. Okay. Any other questions? Venkatramanji, namaskara.
Oh, see, we were talking about guna and the karma. There really want some people with basic attachment to the karma, but not applies so much. There are some people who think a lot about themselves, not doing anything. But there are also people who just do the thing, what you say, they won't apply the mind, but what you say, they will do. The best example in my mind is a Japanese. Japanese people, they do what they are told, and they won't apply the mind. Thinking is done by somebody else. And moment it is decided and told, Japanese sincerely do that. That is a Uttama Guna. They are sincere, honest, devoted, dedicated. But the thinking they don't do. That's it, done by somebody else. So if you think, basically skilled pair, what you need is a skilled work, but attachment to the Uttama Guna, that I think is Japanese, you can take as an example.
Correct. So Siddhappa is giving this example of Japanese who do what they're told to do also. So you have to, again, two things are there involved here. And one is Japanese people are all educated. No, they don't think doesn't mean they're illiterate. So their literacy level is very high. So I've had Japanese classmates when I was doing my graduate studies, and there were Chinese, there were South Koreans, no North Koreans, only South Koreans, and people from other countries were there. Japanese were also there. And Japanese fewer in number because I suppose they could do research in Japan. They don't have to fly all the way to America to do research. Okay. And so Japanese fewer in number, but they were all quite intelligent, quite smart. And that's why they don't leave Japan also often. Now, just because you can think for yourself doesn't mean you should not follow. It all depends on the context. So it depends on the context. So if I'm in a context of a company, I may be a thinker, I'm a research, I'm the director of research. I have a lot of flexibility, but then I follow my superior. I follow the vice president, and the vice president follows the CEO. And the researcher in that department is expected to think originally, but also follows orders, right? No, we are going to shift. Covaxin work is over. No more. We're not going to work on this COVID vaccine anymore. Orders are given, right? So you follow. If fellows can't say, no, I'm very interested in this, I'm an expert in this, you can't say that. Even the expert has to follow the orders. But yeah, you're right. Your point is, as a society, Japan is successful because they are clear about what is to be done, and their sense of this country, I think, is just amazing. They follow. See, you can't say they simply follow. They don't think. You can't say that because Japan. Then how do you get all these great products from Japan? Small country. In the map, you can't even figure out where they are. Some islands, they say, Hokkaido and this and that. So you can't even figure out, yet they're producing so much. So that shows That shows, I think they follow this classification very well. And every person, whether a Brahmana in Japan or a Kshatriya in Japan or Vaishya in Japan or Shudra in Japan, has Uttama Guna. Uttama Guna. Amazing. These people, the CEO resigns if there is a charge of corruption against him. Government employees resign. Ashamed that I became, yes, I am corrupt. I'm ashamed and I'm going to quit my job. This you can see only in Japan. No other country you can see this. So that shows Uttama Guna. So I made a mistake. I apologize. I stepped down. That's it. I'm not qualified for this job anymore. Uttama Guna, correct? Very good. Good example, Venkatraman.
Marty, though, I mean, in Japan, there is this issue of they're struggling with the suicides, very high suicide rates. So there seems like there's a lot of depression right now in Japan. So why is that then? Why? I mean, they're all, we think they're Uttama Guna. Shouldn't they automatically be happy?
Yeah, so there is some problems. We are doing a textbook kind of analysis. And so driven to do. Okay. So nothing except work. Suppose somebody says, then nothing except studies. Push. Then what happens? Balance is not there. Balance, a sense of balance also is important. It's also Uttama Guna. So maybe we have to degrade the Guna. Because if Guna is there, then balance will be there. So that balance is not there. So therefore, suicides. Suicide by college students, suicide by people, adults, everybody, right?
Or is it because the profession they're doing is not aligned with their nature? Is it?
No.
Anything, whatever can be the reason. That also can be the reason. So when the person wants to serve in the government, but ends up doing something else in a very competitive company, that person is going to become mad sooner or later. Because a company is not outward looking, company is inward looking. And you drive, you make all these products and better, you have to make it better, you got to make it better. You see all this, this Apple, Steve Jobs, when he became famous, we read a lot about Apple. And those sweatshops in China, you must have seen. In China, of course, that is China, not Japan. But we don't know how things, working conditions are in Japan. And
I happened to work with two Japanese companies for about 10 years, a few years ago. And towards the end, when things were very bad in Japan, one guy from one of the companies out there who was residing here used to tell me that it is a pressure cooker atmosphere. For right from school onwards to always to be performing. And it's an expensive place to, a very expensive place. There's no relaxation, there's no nothing. That was the biggest. In fact, he used to tell me that he was very, very happy that he got posted to Houston. At that time, he was here for 6 years. He said, it's like, I'm out of that pressure cooker. So that could be, and that is true to some extent, even in Korea, South Korea, I mean. So I've heard like companies like LG, company like GS, companies like, Toyo, JGC. I mean, there are a bunch of them.
I believe young people.
Huawei is a South Korean company, right? Huawei.
That's Chinese, right?
Chinese, that is Chinese.
No. Oh yeah, Huawei is Chinese. Correct. I thought it was South Korea. LG is South Korea, I think. Samsung is South Korea, is it not?
Correct.
Yeah.
LG, Samsung, there was all.
Yeah.
So
fair enough.
I mean,
so that idea that so what is the balance? What happened? Where does balance come into all these things? Excel at any cost. Is that dharma or not? That is the question. Excel at any cost. Is that dharma or not? If it affects our health, then what do you do? That means we're pushing too much, no? So sports. So this America, I remember those days, this drugs was a big thing. And the sportsmen, they used to pump themselves with all the steroids. That's when I heard the word steroid first. I never knew it. and then steroid. And so all this. So because I used to follow all these runners and swimmers and all that, the decathlon and all, I used to follow all this. And then suddenly steroids. What is that runner? 100 meters race those days. Calvin?
Not
Carl
Lewis, Carl
Carl-
Lewis.
Carl Lewis, yeah. So I don't think he was tainted, but anyway. So
No,
these
Lance Armstrong, the cyclist.
Lance Armstrong.
He had 7 of them. All were taken away. You know, the France. I don't remember what it is called. The long duration cycling.
Tour de France.
Tour de France.
Yeah. So the question for us will be, what brings balance? What happened in Japan? Why is it a pressure cooker? Is it a dharmic society or not? Is it helping people or not? Is the society helping people? The government should help people, right? Achieve the goals of whatever their ancestors had decided for that culture. Is it happening or not happening? Would be a very interesting question.
But Jaykumarji, doesn't too much dharma lead to adharma also, like Yudhishthira, you know, like when you become so attached to your dharma, you have to kind of have a balance, isn't it? Like, for example, you follow it, but then your family will suffer, like happened to Yudhishthira. It might be good for him. So anything in extreme will lead to, I think, destruction eventually. Same thing with rajas. If you're too driven too, it will take you so much outward from your personality. You will finally end up destroying yourself.
So that's why we are all combinations of 3 gunas. So sattva is there, tamas will put brakes on the sattva. Rajas is there, tamas will put brakes on the rajas. So that's why we have all 3, and that's why we are all able to.
But I think that those are the imbalances that you see in any extreme case like Japan, or any cases where, though they are uttama, good personalities, some of them, they get carried away by one of their traits or something, and they don't have the counterbalance at that time.
Yeah, absolutely. The balance is not there. Definitely. So there's a dharma has to be interpreted. So we don't say dharma, too much dharma will create adharma.
What I'm saying is, like even trying to be too good, maybe not dharma, but
maybe the
you
letter of the
carry
law.
anything too far. Somebody has to suffer then.
So dharma, that means dharma in certain areas is lacking. Dharma in some areas is there, like say ethically they work in companies, etc. But when families and children are committing suicides and families are all rushing to psychiatrists and psychologists, then people should say there's a problem.
Yes.
That means dharma is lacking in the family area, in the society area it's lacking. But in the company it's good. No problem with dharma, no cheating, no stealing, working hard, this, that, all that is there. That dharma is working. So dharma, we don't say dharma is bad. Dharma has to be applied.
They probably have they don't have the entire vision, like just going in one direction of dharma, carrying it in.
Yeah, so it's not, one has to build all these things. Nothing is obvious. That's why somebody said civilizations are fragile. So in the context of this Vedic civilization, fragile, the very dharmic society, etc. But look what happened, 800 years of rule and this 200 years, and they tried to destroy the civilization. Like that, Will Durant or somebody said. And so this fragility is always there. Dharma is constantly, it has to be interpreted. That's why our role is so important. When we talk about Pancha Maha Yajna, it is so important. It is not a textbook thing. Helping society is there in all countries. We just use the word Pancha Maha Yajna, correct? And so important. We got to focus on the plants and the environment. We have to focus on the ozone layer. We have to focus on all this sweatshops that are going on. What's going on? What happened? Why are we doing this to people? These people are our own people. Why would we kill them like this in sweatshops? Somebody has to ask the question. That's why we have government. That's why we have to elect the right people. Voting is important. Everybody has to go vote. And here we are having all these meetings to say, go vote and vote for BJP. This is what we say. Okay.
And
It has
also,
to be applied in the context of a larger perspective. You have to have a larger perspective, and within that, then you apply dharma. Without a perspective, you go and apply dharma. I mean, using the letter of the law instead of the spirit of the law, then you'll end up with problems, right?
Yeah, so cosmic. This is why cosmic vision. This is why our
Cosmic
vision is cosmic vision. We worry about the entire cosmos. If we don't know, at least we offer prayers. Let everything be in balance. But we
I
don't
think
know how
it's well said by, sorry, it's well said by my Guruji. He says dharma can change, but satya never changes. The thing that is truth, if you stick to it's like the axle in the wheel. The dharma might change depending on the time, place, and person, but the satya will not change. So stick to the satya that is there, the truth, the real truth of that particular situation will help you. It will keep you grounded.
dharma is to be interpreted. That is the key there. Okay, dharma.
Yeah, so the satya will guide you how to interpret it. So if you look at the truth in it, what exactly the intent of it and things like that, it will guide you. That truth will be the guide for you, even if dharma changes.
Yeah, so dharma, dharatiti dharma, and there is a value for speaking the truth. Okay, value for speaking the truth. But sometimes you have to lie. That is the right thing to do.
That's why what the truth means, truth of the situation, what you should do at that time. So again, you have to balance it, of course, but you can use that as a guide. The thing that is unchanging, even in a situation, that is what you need to find out is, like this, for example, if a judge gives that death sentence, it is okay. But if I kill a person, it's not. Why? But the truth is like that person did this. And in that situation, this was the appropriate thing to do.
Correct. So when a judge gives a death sentence, the judge is not guilty. So it's not that night. I mean, he may have some sleepless nights. That's okay. That may be okay. That I took somebody's life because of me. Somebody's dying. That thought may be there, but that's not like killing a person, right? That's not like murdering a person. So yeah, you're right. So dharma, balancing dharma. This is one thing. We learn without being taught. We learn without being taught, but I think we have to also teach it. And that dharma is not absolute. Otherwise, what happens? It is taken to the extreme. Absolute, like Yudhishthira, take to the extreme. And we Yudhishthira. And so taking things to the extreme also creates all kinds of problems. Inability to interpret dharma. Correct? Inability to interpret.
See, for example,
Vedic Pandit is there. That person does Sandhya Vandanam 3 times a day. It takes 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the afternoon, 1 hour in the evening. Very religious person. He does this. Now, daughter has a fever of 103. Okay. This fellow says, I am not going to go to the doctor. I want to finish my Agnihotram. Shortly, I will start. Then we will go to the hospital. That means what? The wife said, enough of you. I am going to go take the daughter to the hospital. Okay. So wife is saying that she is smart. Who is smart? All this Vedic thing has not helped him yet. This fellow has to still grow up. Still grow up. Let him do all these pujas and parayanas, but he is not grown up yet. He doesn't know how to interpret dharma. Interpreting dharma is not easy at all. And so that's why we have to learn. We have to live in the midst of people who are very, like sannyasis and all that. So we know how to interpret things. Yeah, so it's a very, very nice topic, and we still have a lot more to go on this topic of.
But in our Puranas, there's a lot of case studies on Dharma, right? So just like MBA case studies, there are several of them in our Puranas.
Case studies, yeah. Harishchandra is a good case study.
Yeah, so.
Harishchandra is a good case study. My God, he pushed Satya to its limits. Very moving story, very touching. And so we must be driven by ideals, but not become ideal, not become idealistic. Okay, values should drive our lives, but we have to interpret those values accordingly as and when the situation arises. Very, very critical. Correct?
Bhishma is another example, right? He sticks to his vows and does other ones.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, Bhishma kind of.
I think
Made of-
Krishna makes a statement that you Pandavas are always jump on, make some praditnyas without thinking it through. so
yeah. These provide very good case studies.
yeah,
Mahabharata,
that's what I was thinking actually. So
very good case studies. My
because
God.
they are all context based. It is not absolute, as you rightly said, because it
Everything
is
is
not black
context.
and white.
Everything is context based. Everything is context. I like to give that example, right? Of that. Somebody sent you a WhatsApp picture, video of a person pushing a child, small child, on the road, right? And then you say, how could a person do this? That's what we say. But if you look at the entire video, hey, that there's a bus coming and this girl was right there in the front of the bus. So he just pushed the girl and the girl was hurt, but the girl was saved from an accident, correct? So once you broaden and you see the context, you said, oh my God, this person got hurt in the process and the girl was saved. So too many. So that's why, this is why the jury system is good. They look at the big picture. They simply don't get carried away by somebody heard a gunshot. Therefore you shot. Were you there or not? Yes, I was there. Did you shoot? Yes, I shot. That is not enough for the judge, for the jury. You got to go more and more. Tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. Then only they decide, correct? Very beautiful. Good, Balaji, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, coming back to Bhagyaji's comment about why the suicide rate is high in Japan, it's also to do with the society, you know, perceived expectations, you know. The society exerts kind of expectations on every child. We do it. In India also we do it. 12th standard is considered high tension, you know, make or break kind of thing. So, you know, we as society are also to blame, not as individuals, you know. So we do that. We are complicit in putting pressure. I do it on my child, you know, because we want them to succeed, and success is defined in society right now. So we do that. So we are exerting stress on kids, and some kids can handle it and some can't. That's it.
Correct.
I think
Sometimes
that's a very, sorry.
Go ahead, Anjali.
Sometimes I think that's a very important point, Balaji, because I think especially, I don't know in India, but in the US here, parental expectations, it's almost like the parents are competing between themselves to have the best child, the best accomplished child. And that I know for a fact has caused suicide among our youth, because there's so many expectations placed on them. And I'm thinking about what this topic that we're talking about, and I was wondering if, you know, the intentions of the parents might be, they have good intentions, but it's misguided because they're not looking at the whole picture. They're thinking that the child has to be excellent in so many different ways, and that's the best thing they can give their child. But like Balaji said, if you put too much pressure on a child, you know, there's some can handle it better than others, but when you have high expectation in so many different aspects for a child, it breaks them. And sometimes the parents, what I have also seen is the parents kind of live through their child, in that they push their child, not you know, of course for the betterment of the child, but also for them to have a feather in their cap that, oh, my child is going to Harvard, oh, he does so well in sports and stuff. So in some way, their ego is also part of the equation. And they have good intentions, but they're underlying, they have a sattvic. But it is a very serious topic, and I think that we do need to pay attention to that, because just allowing, you know, like today I was talking to a family, and it is a mom and a 15-year-old child, and they absolutely hate each other. And the Indian mother is like, she is very, very
determined that this child is going to do everything she tells her to do. So she doesn't like talk to the child and find out what's going on. She said, you do A, B, C. And the child is, no, I don't want to do that. I can do it, but I want to do it when I want to. I need that freedom. And it's to such a point that they want to send this child off to boarding school. And it's the sweetest child, you know, but the idea of what a parental expectation, what their fear is underneath, you know, the idea that I have to be like this to my child is hurting that child so much. So I think I went on too long with this explanation, but it's a very important topic that you guys are talking about.
Yeah, definitely, Anjali, definitely. That's why we do need to, at least as far as Indians are concerned, people like us, we do need to be in touch with the Shastra. It provides the balance. It at least doesn't, if we go too far, at least I am able to recognize, oh, I think I'm going too far, you know. So that's that awareness, slight awareness may be there. And so that we need to immerse ourselves in these kinds of communities as that provides the breaks for all these kinds of behaviors. But it's tough. And Indians, see, what happened is the Vedic society was a solid society. But then thanks to this 800 years of British Mughal rule and the British rule, we have become very insecure. Indians, I'm talking about Indians who lived in India and become insecure. So this holistic look was lost. And it became a question of how do I protect my family? So this I, me, myself has come. And so this insecurity is there, and therefore I must excel and I have to somehow get a job. And this all job oriented and thinking has come. So the Indian parents have become like that. I won't say all Indian parents, there are of course many exceptions, no doubt. But this idea of pushing our children, it's come over years, over decades, over centuries, it has come. And we have to kind of turn the tide. I think a lot of good thinking going around in the homeschooling and this and that. People who can afford their children great schools are also doing homeschooling and things like that. So there's some thinking, good thinking coming about. But I think no society is immune to this, and we can't say, oh, I'm from a Vedic society, so I'm very lucky. I can't say that also, you know. And every parent, every family is what do you call it? Can succumb to that kind of a society-driven mindset. Yeah, Narayanji, go ahead.
I had a couple of comments. I had a couple of comments only. One is that this 4 karma vibhaga, you can actually apply it to the human body itself. The head, the hands, the stomach, and the legs. You can actually apply the 4 karma vibhaga to the body itself in that sense. The head is the thinking part, the hands which take care of protection, the stomach which provides resources, and the legs which takes care of physical activity. I mean, in that sense. And the other comment I had was that this 4 karma vibhaga, I mean, there's a common saying that happens, especially in this side of the country, is that the Brahmana is responsible for protection against Ajnana. Kshatriya is responsible for protection against Adharma. Vaishya is responsible for protection against Abhava. And Shudra is responsible for protection against Alasya.
Okay. Alasya means?
Laziness.
Sorry, can you say that again?
I think it is laziness. Laziness.
Yeah.
Lethargy.
Shudra cannot protect us from misery because we say Shudra Guna is driven by kind of lethargy. So we need a strong force to pull that person.
But they are skilled laborers too.
This division of the body, etc. So in Purusha Suktam, so Brahmano osya mukhamasi vahuta janyah kritaha uru tadasya yadvaishyaha padbhyagum shudro ajayata. So there is this thing that comes in Purusha Suktam, and which actually these people who are intent on destroying Hinduism quote this mantra. They quote this mantra. Look, you guys, you have put Shudras down to the foot, and Brahmana means head. Like this they talk. They spew venom using this mantra. So there is a lot going on out there. There's a war, and based on this Purusha Suktam, they got this, they use this Chaturvanyam and say, you people are racist people. They quote all this. These people, there are PhD thesis based on this, trying to prove that Vedic society is a racist society. And so it's we've got a lot of work to do here, and so we have to understand this very clearly. And textbooks talk about how textbooks in the US and in India, how Hindu society is a racist society, how Hinduism is a racist religion. This is what they teach in textbooks. And it's appalling. It's appalling because children cannot be taught like this. And so there's just way too much work to do. And I was reminded of all this when Narayanji said that. Head, etc., Vibhaga, and things like that. So this word Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, the Brahmana word has become a bad word. And the British made sure this Brahmana, okay, we'll talk about it next time. It's time's up. We've been talking for a while. But so we'll conclude this thing. I'll bring this up again in the next class, and we can have that in the satsang as well. So any other, yeah, it's 8:15 now. I think we should stop. Yeah, thanks for engaging in this discussion. Next class, we'll have this Q&A that I was talking about. We'll do that based on our understanding of this karma-based vibhaga and guna-based vibhaga. And because he said that, no, what does it say? Chaturvanyam maya srishtam guna karma vibhaga. So that guna vibhaga and karma vibhaga, both we talked about. Think about it, and later on we'll do some more discussion in the next class. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhanvantaraye Amrita Kalashahastaya Sarvamaya Vinashanaya Trilokyanathaya Shri Mahavishnave Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhanvantaraye Amrita Kalashahastaya Sarvamaya Vinashanaya Trilokyanathaya Shri Mahavishnave Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhanvantaraye Amrita Kalashahastaya Sarvamaya Vinashanaya Trilokyanathaya Shri Mahavishnave Namaha.
Thank you, Jaykumarji.
Thank you.